Welcome again to another episode of the Dialed and Driven Hockey Mentality Podcast. My name's Chris Palmer. I'm a mental performance coach for hockey players throughout North America and Europe, sitting across from Jeff Lerg, former professional hockey player. Every week we come up with things that will help you get what you want in your hockey career and beyond. But before we get started, let's get with Natalie for your questions.
Yes, I'm Natalie Ferentz, and I am the producer of this podcast and also the one lucky enough to read the questions that you guys write us. So today, our first question is, what accomplishment are you both most proud of?
Very interesting. As we're speaking athletics, so of course we've talked many times about collegiately our team won the national championship. I'm proud of that athletically because that was a vision that I had in my life. It wasn't just this happenstance that we just magically got hot at the right time. This was like in my brain as a kid, like I'm going to be that person. So having that athletic success, definitely my proudest moment there. Secondly, though, as I've evolved since an athlete into building a mentorship and coaching services business, what I'm most proud of, and just coincidentally kind of flows into what we're going to discuss today, is I started training goalies 20 years ago at a team practice setting, evolved that into performing group training. And now we've evolved that, as we just discussed, into mentoring and providing guidance and coaching to all athletes, not only on site, but virtually. So two-parted: athletically, seeing a goal and accomplishing it, and then personally, professionally, morphing my career into more than just an individual one-on-one goalie coach.
Yeah. No, I think for me, on the sports side, the coolest thing was getting fourth at nationals. Just making All-American was a really good thing for me. You guys know I was a runner. I wasn't a hockey player. And I screwed it up in high school. My senior year, I was supposed to win state, and I fell apart half a mile to go. It really was not together. And coming back 4 years later and having that was really, really awesome. But I think the thing I'm the most proud of is that I get to be involved with these four kids I love, and four amazing kids. They're age 14 to 19, and I get to coach. And these are amazing things for me because we talk all the time about what people regret at the end of their lives. They regret not spending enough time with the people they care about, and they regret not spending enough time doing things they love. And this ties into high-end athletics. You're around your people you care about, and you're doing things you care about. It's awesome. I feel really lucky to be part of that.
Very nice, guys. The next question reads, who are your greatest inspirations and why? But I would love for you guys to say athletically as a kid growing up, and then maybe as you guys have gone into the professional world, if it changed, who that would be.
Great question, because as you're goal setting, you have to have someone or some information to follow. You can't just magically think you're going to get somewhere and kind of just have a hope sense. You have to actually be following something or learning from something. So athletically, goalie-wise, I was always a big fan of the Detroit Red Wing goaltenders. Even when I was young, I did a speech about when I grow up, I want to become an NHL goalie. And Chris Osgood at the time was the starting goalie for the Red Wings. And I was wearing the Osgood jersey, got the Chris Osgood sign stick for Christmas. And I wore that and I spoke to all these people saying, I'm going to be a professional hockey goalie. So that was my inspiration as a kid. Of course, that much of that confidence and grit came from my dad, who was a hockey player and a coached me along the way, just seeing his work ethic. So both were very impactful for me. And professionally now, I've engrossed myself into many kind of business-oriented inspirations. So I would say I just kind of continue to evolve with the mindset of an athlete into who can I learn from kind of running and operating these coaching and mentoring services. So I don't want to pinpoint one because I've been influenced by a lot of people professionally.
Yeah, well, I think there's two things. When I was younger, it was definitely this Alberto Salazar. He's just like this amazing marathoner, world record holder. He's incredible, one of the toughest guys. He actually is so tough that after a race, he ran so hard. He used his brain so much past the limits of his body. He was dead, literally dead for a number of minutes. He had last rites given to him, and he came back out of it. Crazy, super amazing, tough guy. But the one constant for me, the person I look up to, the person who really shaped my whole life, is just Brent Haley in Largo, my coach when I was 13 years old. It changed my life. He's still one of my friends. I just saw him a couple weeks ago. He's in his 80s now. He really taught me the core of what I help people with, and that's to believe in yourself. You got to do it with evidence, and you can let the world and all the negativity weigh on you and make you think you're nothing, or you can realize you're something. You can get up every day and go for something you care about and have a life. And man, did that affect everything for me. It's the core of why I coach.
Awesome. Well, that sums up our question and answer segment. If you would like to leave a question for us, please visit our website, goaliementors.com/dialedandriven. Or you guys can message us on Instagram at dialedandriven if you don't want to remain anonymous.
So this week, we're going to talk about innovation. Innovation in your game, innovation in how you look at things, innovation in your performance. Just imagine that you become great, whatever great is, and you just do the same thing over and over again. What do you think is going to happen? You know that every single week, people watch video, all different levels, and they watch video to find out how you behave. How does he shoot? What are his or her idiosyncrasies? How does that goalie react coming in from the left, coming in from the right? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? They can make a profile of you. Anybody watching you can make a profile of you. So just strictly from the side of the game where you're trying to go be great, somebody can watch video of you and find your weaknesses because everybody has one. So just at that start, innovation in your game and how you play makes you difficult to play against because you can't be predicted. It's an awesome thing, but so often we get to a certain point, we think we're doing well, and the innovation goes out the door. Jeff, do you want to talk about this some?
Yeah, very timely with your idea and thoughts on this next topic to discuss. First off, we had a question relating to that, just organically was asked, who were your biggest inspirations? And that was my honest response. It was, they change throughout the course of your career and your timing, and that's the way you improve. You become a student of your game or yourself, and then you identify your strengths as an athlete, your growth opportunities, and then you look to evolve from there. What can I do to improve those growth opportunities? What can I do to continually improve those strengths? So not only as an athlete, but as a person. So great timing. Again, we're at the midway point of the hockey season itself, close to the new year. Great timing to have that self-reflection again take place and then establish your action plan moving forward.
Yeah, that's great. So, we talked before about this growth mindset, this idea of not being in a fixed mindset, that things are a certain way, things can't be changed. If you are in a growth mindset, it helps you create, it helps you innovate, it helps you realize that if you put an effort in a certain area, you're just going to get better at it. We talked before about in skating, most people who've been skating, most teenagers who've been skating their whole lives, they don't have to think about skating anymore because they've created these habits. But the habits can also be the killer because if you skate a certain way and you become really predictable, that could be a problem. So we're trying to give you an advantage because at some point, everybody has the chance to innovate. Everybody has a chance to add something different. Kucherov, we talked about in an earlier episode, is amazing. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. But Kucherov is a guy who was known for finding answers anywhere he could find answers. And he worked with a AA coach down in Florida. Actually had a private lesson with a AA coach just to see if he could find something different, just to tweak something to innovate. Bedard does the same thing. We saw recently Bedard went from being a guy who was doing amazing his first year to being a guy his second year had some difficulties, and he just decided to fight back. He could have rolled over. He could have said, my fixed mindset says this is where I am. But he actually spent an hour and a half after practice on his own trying to innovate. And God, the guy's doing amazing now.
Yeah, interesting because you always have to look to build that toolbox of skills. You have to be able to maximize your skill set by having all the tools in the box, and then knowing when to use them is the key. Just this past week, I had a goalie come up to me or kind of stop me during a lesson, and we were doing some kind of bad angle plays, which you've referenced for a goalie. This RVH, positioning is a new position that's been established over the last 10, 15 years. During that time frame, someone found good success with utilizing it and being able to make a save from a bad angle or be able to push off the post. So then it kind of, took like wildfire worldwide from there. But I had a goalie stop me after the reps were complete. She comes up and says, "Hey, can you believe so-and-so? They use the VH in this position." And she's referring to the RVH, just goalie technical terms, more or less, just a different positioning on this bad angle play. And I said, "Yeah, that's awesome. You got to have all the skill sets to be able to pull them out when you need them." I said, "Look at me. I was a smaller goalie. You think I could be down on my knees when the play was 15, 20 feet away? I couldn't be like Ben Bishop, 6'7". I had to be in a different position." So you have to have that student of the game mentality where you identify what are those growth opportunities. Are you getting scored on short side high? And then you got to navigate differently. You can't keep doing the same things over and over and expect different results. That's why the real definition of insanity. So have that skill set available, first off. Secondly, the student of the game, the athlete IQ, goalie IQ, hockey IQ, that becomes your next focal point, because then you got to know when to use them.
Yeah. Let me go outside of hockey for a second. Human beings love familiarity. We do. But we also love when something's maybe fresh or exciting or different. We're built with this kind of scanning ability for danger. It's an instinctive thing. We scan for danger, and then after a while, if we realize there's no danger, our brain just shuts off and almost ignores things. That's why when you go into a house, you don't notice something that you've had hanging on your wall for 3 years. But same thing in your game. When you're actually out in your game, the thoughts that you have, the things that you use, the tools that you use to help you through can become stale. They can become things that you maybe forget because you've done them so much. I have this thing we talk about in writing something on your stick or your glove, especially for goalies, because nobody's there to hold your hand. It'd be so great if I could ever coach one day and put an earpiece in somebody and be able to talk to them while they're in the net. It'd be so great. So, hey, don't worry about that. It's fine. Shake it off, reset. You're good. We'll talk about it later. It'd be so awesome to do that. You've got to be your own mental performance coach. You've got to be the person calming yourself down in the 14.6 seconds you have between problems out there and be able to be all set. So it's so hard to do that, and we come up with this idea of writing something on your stick to remind you, whatever that is, focus, intensity, attack, do your job, pick your phrase. Or sports psychology, the phrase is follow your process. But if you have the same thing on your stick all the time, you become desensitized to it, just like the color of the paint on your walls or just like a picture hanging 20 years in your house. So find new ways to bring something fresh into these mental performance things too. Find new words. Somebody used Beavis and Butthead the other day. Honestly, I've got a goalie out of Maryland, awesome guy, and he actually uses Beavis and Butthead as a thing that allows him to think of that kind of intense, kind of anti-establishment, kind of tough guy to be around. And he does that, and it works for him. I don't care what you put on your stick. I don't care what you put in your glove. But if you can innovate, if you can create new things to keep it fresh and exciting, you have a chance to bring fresh and exciting to your game, which just makes you harder to play against.
And a lot of times this needs to occur when you're kind of jumping levels or year to year as you climb any athletic ladder. Plays become faster, opponents become stronger, decision-making needs to happen quicker. So you have to understand the games don't become easier as you climb up the pyramid. There's a reason it's the pyramid, because other people are falling off. You have to keep climbing up to reach that peak. So innovation is a must. And it's needed because things are just happening, right? You can't play the same way as you did as a 12-year-old into a 15-year-old into a 20-year-old if you're lucky enough to play that long. You have to grow and evolve, not only physically to be able to establish yourself and maintain the level of play, but mentally. So that's where the key comes in, is understand where the weaknesses are or growth opportunities. For example, I'm this 5'5.5" goalie going out to junior hockey as a 16, 17-year-old, and players are shooting the puck faster. They're labeling it barn down and back bar high glove. So all of a sudden, my stance had to change a little bit. All of a sudden, I had to do some more racquetball drills before and after practice to get my hand speed up. That's the minute details that are needed that athletes need to understand within their game and within their structure of where they're playing and the level they're playing. What can you do to continually keep the same or even a higher impact in your position?
No, it's great. But one of the guys I work with recently, we've been doing the same visualization a lot. And one of the hard things is that sometimes during the visualization, I'll hear him talk, and I don't feel emotion in that. One of the most important things in visualization is to actually feel the imagined thing you're doing, to feel this kind of practice in your head, to feel you're there and it's a big game and something's going on in the stands and you see somebody who's distracting you, or somebody gets one by you that you wish you could get back, and it's so frustrating. And when you do a visualization and you're just narrating, it happens because you get in this habit of doing a visualization a certain way and you stop innovating and creating. You're kind of doing the same things. So I'll stop a visualization in the middle and say, hey, look, are you feeling anything right now? Like, do you feel this? Can you smell the air? Do you feel the cold? Do you feel the dampness in there? Because the more real we can make this, the more you can feel it. So sometimes innovation isn't so much about doing some amazingly crazy new thing that nobody ever saw. Like, I remember Kucherov did this crazy thing where he was waving his stick over a moving puck and he scored. And it just creeped in, I think, 5-hole on somebody. That was a really cool innovation. That was planned. But you don't have to be amazing in your innovation. Sometimes it's just making a tweak, just a little thing. Like, for instance, in your diet. Let's say you're eating a bunch of crap one week and you get in the habit of eating crap because it's easier and you're getting home at 11 o'clock at night, whatever it is. Maybe just one little tweak of having one high quality meal that, God forbid, has some green stuff on the plate, something you've got, that is a little innovation that could change. So sometimes it doesn't have to be giant. It could just be something that you're doing that's just better for you. And that helps build confidence and build belief and all these other things.
Yeah. And you mentioned it, that Kucherov and NHLer performed kind of the magic wand move where the puck stayed, but the player faked out the goalie. And what do you think trickled down into the college level and then the junior level and the youth level? You watch others, you study what's taking place within your sport, and then you can see that if it's working, oh, maybe I'll try that. You know, the lacrosse style goal that where the player picks up the puck and, wraps it around the high part of the net against goalies. That came about because it was an NCAA tournament game. It was at Michigan State's arena, Mount Ice Arena, but University of Michigan player picks it up, scoops it up, and scores a goal years ago. Now that's transpired into just the norm, right? And you see kids as youth players, they know how to pick up the puck like it's a lacrosse stick better than they know how to stick handle with their head up.
Yeah.
But that's what we mean. Is that innovation actually going to help you? It's not. It's not if you can master that without mastering the fundamentals. And that's where Kobe Bryant, he was known to be this master of the fundamentals. You want to learn from people who've been there to the highest levels of certain sports. Kobe Bryant was known to be the one who mastered the fundamentals and just trained as hard as he possibly could on those fundamentals. And there's stories and live content of old teammates of Kobe Bryant looking at him like, how is this guy just going all out in this training session? We're just doing simple drills we learned as kids. But that's what separated him. He knew what made him successful, and he trained super hard at him. He didn't waste his time on gimmicks or small things that didn't really impact his operating system.
That's a great transition to this. You guys listening, think for a second about where you are right now. Think about, are you in a place where you're happy with your performance? And I mean your performance with your friendships, your performance with your coach, your performance with your teammates, your performance on the ice, off the ice. If it's a different sport, your performance in that sport, are you happy with where you are? And ask yourself right now, what's missing? What's the thing that just rubs you? What's the thing that if you could change one little thing, just one thing, if you can get this off your back, your whole game would change, your whole life would change. I bet in that one thing, there's a solution that's so simple and so basic. It's not a massive innovation. It's the innovation of you changing your thought in a moment to do one thing you actually give a crap about in a slightly different way to change things. Let me give you an example. Sleep. Sleep, I would argue is probably the number one problem in teen youth athletes. The number one problem. Because when it comes down to it, you got lots of obligations. Work, up early, work. I get it. And sometimes it's not so fun. We all go to schools. You have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. There's a lot of gotta do. Some guys are up 6:30 in the morning. I'm going to go do a training with a local high school at 6 in the morning in the rink. That's the only time they can get ice time. So imagine 6 in the morning means you're up at 5, and take the math back from there. Take the math back 8 hours. You have to go to bed at 9 o'clock. What teenager is going to bed at 9 o'clock? I don't know any. 10 o'clock maybe. 11 o'clock common, 11:30, 12, and sometimes doom scrolling, and you fall asleep without trying to fall asleep at 12:30 with the last TikTok video rolling. This is the life we live in, and it's normal. It's not your fault. This stuff happens. And it happens because in the end, nobody's a machine who can work all the time. Everybody needs a break. And sometimes the break shows up in a phone and you feel like just, a few more minutes. It kind of feels good. I get it. But maybe your largest innovation is the simplest thing in finding a way to get 1 extra hour of sleep. Make it 11, make it 10, make it 9, whatever it is. You lock that up, you put the phone away, and you decide for one night you're going to see what it feels like to get 8 hours in the rack. You do that, I promise you it completely changes. It does.
100%. And we talked about the overtraining options that there are in our athletic world, and you hit the nail on the head. Many of these athletes are just showing up to a session. So on one end of it, they're kind of convincing their mind, I'm getting better. I'm doing all this extra work. On the other end of it, they're not coming in with that full nutrition and focus levels needed. So they're physically doing something, but there's no development in it. It's just time spent training, but it's not valuable time spent. So great point to bring up, because that's one step that innovation can be highly impactful. And then you start, there's many times you might look at all the work or effort you've put in over a certain period of time, and then you have to have that self-assessment. Am I actually improving? Is this piece of innovation, adding more training, actually helping? But that's where this awareness, this cognitive ability, this really cerebral skill set needs to come in as athletes, and you have to have it. It's not out of the realm of a teenage athlete to be aware of their game, or be aware of opponents' games, or be aware of watching those that have been there and done that before them. That's just the human being's evolution. We've learned from others ahead of us since the beginning of time here. So it's time for the athletes now to try to implement that skill. I think that's what we mean by innovation. It's not something scary or intimidating. It's something that can be done and must be done.
Yeah. So just to summarize on this thing, this idea of innovation isn't to give you another obligation. We don't want that to be that. We talked about this toolbox, and I think it's a great way to talk about even what we're doing here. We're giving you a toolbox, all these episodes, all these things, all the private camps, the coaching sessions, everything's about trying to give you these pieces that can help you. And I believe there's an infinite number of tools that can help you. There's fundamental ones, but there's an infinite number. And you'll create some yourself if you think about, what's the problem? How can I solve this? Please don't feel this is weight on you. We're not trying to give you weight. We're trying to say, here's another avenue. And sometimes the smallest changes can make these gigantic changes in performance, these gigantic changes in motivation and happiness. And we want that for you. Because in the end, if you're dialed toward things that you're driven to do, truly, you are completely focused on things you're truly, really interested in doing, your life can change. And if you can realize that it's not always the same thing, and that doing new things actually helps you fix problems, take the right tool from the toolbox to fix it. Do you know that at Home Depot now, if you go into there, you wouldn't believe the number of Ryobi tools they have. Ryobi is kind of like the regular household kind of tool. You're not going to see professionals use them because they can't be used every day for 50 hours. But they have every type of tool you can imagine there. The most crazy little detailed things. And it's awesome because one little innovation in a tool can change the life of somebody trying to fix some drywall or fix a piece of trim in a weird position. In the same way, you have a chance to use these tools to give your life, your career, something that feels like it's productive and moving forward. And it's exciting because when you pick a new thing like that, believe it or not, there's a chemical change in you when you get the reward. And that reward is a real thing towards something you really want, instead of just the reward of a phone temporarily making you feel artificially better.
Yeah, awesome. And lastly, just to the athletes out there, remember, athletic development comes from both mental and physical improvement. So we spend a lot of time on the physical nature of our skill set: stronger, faster, more skill, private lessons, private training. But if you care enough, if you're driven enough, and your why means that much, you'll take the time to understand the other end of it, the mindset and the education needed in your game to improve. So really that's where we want to help continue and kind of open your eyes to the bigger picture. It's mental and physical. So if you care enough, you will take the time to learn the other side of it, not just the physical offerings that are there for you. So lastly, to our athletes, just a reminder to stay dialed and driven on your goals, as that's the only way to accomplish success.
Jeff Lerg! One of the best saves you will ever see, keeps this game alive!
Chris Palmer again, the Hockey Mentality Podcast, Dialed and Driven.